the last thing, this is the big one. And this one, I'm talking about it, 12, 15, 13 minutes into this video. And I really probably should have been talking about it at the beginning, because this is the biggest one that nobody talks about when they have skin removal surgery. And no one talks about it a year later or 2 years later. But I've seen it so often that I wanted to talk about it, right? This is part 2 of skin removal 1 year later, all right? So I wanted to share, last time I kind of talked about some things that you want to know before you're getting skin removal. This time I'm going to talk about what I've learned in this year, right? Some of the things that have happened, what I've dealt with, and what I've seen other people deal with that no one is talking about, and it's wild, okay? So first, let me introduce myself. I'm Ileka Falette, I'm a mom of 4, and about 8 years ago, roughly, I lost 120 pounds through keto, low carb eating, exercise, mostly strength training and HIIT, and lifestyle changes to live a healthier lifestyle for my entire family. And then I became a personal trainer, and I helped thousands of women, achieve their health and wellness goals through like weight loss coaching and exercise, and how to shift their mindset to really feel better, but also how to keep those sexy curves while you're losing those weight. So that's what I talked about. That's what I taught. And I don't really do that anymore, right? I don't really do weight loss coaching anymore, but I'm still passionate about living a healthy lifestyle. So I come here on YouTube and I share my experience, and I also bring on other experts that can share their experiences and tips and strategies. And if you're looking for weekly strategies and tips, as well as some amazing recipes, be sure to subscribe, but also go to ilekafalette.com, where I share weekly tips, strategies, resources to stay healthy on this journey. And you can also get my step-by-step recipes. I give them away for free. Any recipe I do here on YouTube, I share the actual ingredients, directions, everything in the recipe card right there. If you go to ilekafalette.com, all right? All right, so let's get into the skin removal conversation, all right? I got my phone here so that I can talk about what actually happened, right? Because I made some notes because I was like, let's get into it, all right? So the first thing is that people do not talk about is hormonal changes. When you think about it, skin removal is a major thing, right? Like the skin is our largest organ, and we're getting a ton of that removed, right? And so of course it's going to change our hormones. Of course it can even affect our metabolism, and we don't even think about it, right? Especially since like all of that is going at the same time, and then you have to sit there for 8 weeks and do nothing, sometimes longer, and do no exercise. So you may stay the same weight, right? And you still look amazing, but our muscle mass is being impacted. So metabolism starts to go down. Sometimes moods change. You start feeling different and feeling weird. You just had all the skin removed, so your hormones are changing. People have depression. I will say I didn't have depression, but I had some weird feelings. Like I wasn't feeling like myself. Also, I think I thought, I had the skin removed, so my body's gonna look amazing immediately. And when it didn't, because I was so swollen, right, from having surgery, I was super swollen, and it took a while for me to see the difference in my body, right? It's gonna be at least a week, maybe longer for some people. For me, it took 4 weeks because I talked about this in other videos, but I had poor post-op, right? So it took a long time for me to actually see anything different in my body. And so going through that's a mental shift. That can impact up here. You just went through this major process. You're tired, you spent a ton of money, you're still like trying to actually do stuff, like you can't even walk straight yet, like all these things. and you can't exercise, and you don't even have the look that you were going for. That can affect some things. So I went through that for a little bit where I was feeling like, man, what is going on? This doesn't feel good. Like, did I make a mistake? All that, right? And I will tell you, I didn't make a mistake. Like, I'm so happy I had the skin removal surgery. And there were some things that happened, right? So if you watched the last video, I talked about some of the things that, you watch part 1 of this, because this is part 2. I talked about some things that really were affected here. But, so let's go into some other things. All right, so hormone changes, right? Like I said, your hormone is going to be changing. Your hormones will change, or may change, or be impacted by getting rid of that much skin in a day, right? In one day, you lose 5, 10 pounds of skin, 15 pounds, whatever amount of skin is gone from your body. That's going to affect something. And so understanding what it's affecting is going to be important, whether it's affecting here, whether it's affecting metabolism, whatever it is, right? And of course, not being able to exercise for 8 weeks can affect metabolism as well. All right. So there's that. Here's the second thing. Something that a lot of folks don't talk about is the scars, right? Like, I'm a year in and I still have like a whole, a whole scar going all around my body, right? And they tell you there's things you can use like silicone and all these things, but it didn't really, I used all of that for like several weeks, and it didn't go away, right? These scars are still here. And I think at this point, I'm just like, this is what my body looks like. I'm sure I could probably do some bleaching or some different things, but at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I lost 120 pounds. I had skin removal surgery and I got this scar. So what? Where my bikini at? Like at some point it's just like whatever, right? But I do want to let folks know that not everybody's scars go away. Some people's scars go away. Some people's didn't. Mine did not. Mine is still here. I also have some issues with my belly button. A lot of folks have issues with their belly buttons post skin removal surgery or a tummy tuck or things like that. My belly button is not cute. It's just a dot, right? It looks different. Like, some people have a great belly button. Because of my post-op care, my belly button is not on it. And that's fine. I'm just dealing with it. This is what it looks like. I'm not getting it fit. I'm probably not going to get it fixed. I'm probably just going to stick with it the way it is. And, but yeah, that's another thing, right? A year later, my belly button's odd looking. From a distance, you can't tell. But if you're up on it, you're like, where is your belly button? Like, it's very, but that's the thing. It's like, I look at it sometimes, and like, people used to ask me all the time about loose skin. And one question that I got the most was, when you lost that 120 pounds, when you lost all that weight, did you have loose skin? Because I don't want to have loose skin. And I remember my response, and this was well before I had skin removal surgery, because I had skin removal surgery after 7 years of keeping the weight off, right? So my response to people was always, you know what? Yeah, I have some loose skin. Not a whole ton, because I did strength training and I ate high protein, low carb while I lost the weight. So I have some loose skin. It's not a ton, but I was like, I think even if I had a ton of loose skin, it's like, I'd rather have loose skin than have the weight that I had, because it didn't feel good. And now I can jump on the floor and jump right back up, and I couldn't before, So I look at it the same way with the skin removal. Like, yeah, I don't have a belly button no more. It's so funny to say, but it's like, yeah, I don't have a belly button no more. It's there, but it looks different, right? And at the same time, I don't have the extra skin either. And so not having the extra skin was better for me than the belly button situation. So it's like, you get to look at what's right for you. So yeah, that's another thing, like scars, still having the scars, losing my belly button, like, those are things, right? That happened. So just thinking about, some of those updates, right? So that's another thing. And the hormone changes, right? So something that many people also don't talk about, which I didn't even know about, is that if you eat poorly, like if you eat off plan, you know, and I know this is within the year, but it may, after the year, this might not, after about, you know, 18 months or something, maybe this isn't still a thing. I'm only a year out, so I don't know. But what I do know is that if I eat poorly or if I sit too long, I get this weird tight feeling in my skin, right? And it's like fluid builds up in those areas. And I know it because if I do a lymphatic massage on myself, the fluid goes away. So I get fluid buildup in this area where I had the skin removal, right? And I had some lipo, so it could be due to the lipo or the skin removal, but either way, something is happening. And I actually, this isn't just me either, because I talked to a few other people that I knew, but when I talked to them again, they were just a year out. And they were saying that they still wear their fajas, which is what is it? Like the compression around the, you know, around the area you had the surgeries. They still wear them, you know, a year later on occasion as needed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to wear that thing for a whole year. That's crazy. Well, I'm a year in, and I will tell you that that many nights, not even just every so often, right now, especially as I'm you know, like losing weight again, and back on like my regimen and stuff, I will still put my faja on, my compression devices on at night as I go to sleep. It just, because when I don't sometimes, even if I'm eating perfectly, right? I know it happens for sure if I'm not eating perfectly, but even when I do eat perfectly, I'll notice some like extra inflammation, swelling, fluid buildup, whatever it is on my sides or in certain areas when I wake up. So it's like that happens and nobody ever talks about that. And I'm like, why is anybody talking about this? This is a thing. So yeah, we have some extra, you can actually have some extra fluid buildup and things like that. So those compression devices, the fajas or whatever it is you're wearing, you may still be wearing that a year later. So I haven't heard anybody wearing it like 2 years later, but hey, I don't know. You know, I'm only a year in. So there's that, right? So one of the things that I do want to share is that has helped me with that is stretching. So I found that if I stretch, and I mean like just regular, like standing up, like stretching like that, this side, that kind of stretching, right? Where I'm stretching the spaces, leaning back, leaning forward. So yoga really, right? Doing things like yoga really helps with that. So when I do my yoga, if I'm doing yoga consistently, meaning like a few times a week on a consistent basis, I do notice that I don't get those, I don't get the swelling anymore, right? I don't get the swelling as much. So if that's helpful, if you're a yoga gal, or if you, if stretching is important to you, I would say, or if you don't want this swelling, I would say stretching. I've only found this recently, like in the last like month. If I'm doing stretching consistently, like yoga type stretching where I'm stretching the front and I'm stretching my back, I'm stretching my sides, I don't have the swelling as much. So if that's gonna help somebody, I say, you know, start stretching now, especially if you're wanting to get the skin removal surgery, or if you've had it and you're like, why am I still having this swelling? And I think part of it is because I didn't have great lymphatic massage support at the beginning, like within my first few weeks. If I'd had that, I don't think this would still be an issue, but you know, I didn't have that. So if you're like me, then, you know, stretching can really help, right? Stretching and yoga. The last thing, this is the big one. This one, I'm talking about it, you know, 12, 15, 13 minutes into this video. And I really probably should have been talking about it at the beginning, because this is the biggest one that nobody talks about when they have skin removal surgery. And no one talks about it a year later or 2 years later. But I've seen it so often that I wanted to talk about it, right? Weight gain. Weight gain, y'all. Oh my goodness. So I remember when I had lost 120 pounds, I said, people were asking me, are you gonna get skin removal? Are you gonna get skin removal? And I was like, one day I'm gonna get it, but I'm not gonna get it immediately. And I remember saying the reason I didn't wanna get it immediately is because I wanted to make sure I could keep the weight off before I got skin removal surgery. Because I remember saying, I was like, I've seen so many people get skin removal surgery and then gain the weight back. And I was like, I don't want that to be me. So I said, I am going to wait like 4 or 5 years, make sure I keep the weight off, and then I'll get skin removal. Well, guess what, y'all? For those 7 years that I kept, that I kept the weight off, I was doing good. I had skin removal surgery. I gained 50 pounds. Not immediately, not week 1, right? I was just looking back at pictures for 6 months after I had skin removal surgery, and I still looked amazing. Amazing. Like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I looked great. Like, my stomach looked great. Everything was flat. It was cool, right? Then it was like the weight started coming on. Now, I will say this. I had gone through a lot of things during that time. Like 6 months, things were great. And then it was like that 6-month mark hit and the crap hit the fan. Like, life changed for me, right? And this was a few months ago. Like, horrible things happened, right? In terms of like losing family members and things like that. And I've talked about that in multiple videos. But anyways, I gained weight. And I gained a significant amount, like 50 pounds. And I gained 50 pounds very quickly. And I struggled to take it off. Like, it's coming off, but I'm not 50 pounds down yet, right? So I'm like, what is happening, right? It's coming off, but it's taking a little longer because I'm still now working back to building my muscle back up, because it can take like a year to rebuild the muscle mass and rebuild the metabolism that's impacted by skin removal surgery. So if you think about people that you know that had skin removal, like say they lost a significant amount of weight and then they had skin removal surgery, right? A lot of them after that skin removal surgery, like me, gained some weight back. And I started to look at if there's a correlation. Like, why are so many people gaining that weight back? And I do believe it's a correlation. I think it's a mix of, because it's not like we're going back to eating like we did. I mean, I had kept weight off for 7 years. There's no way I was about to go back to like everyday eating like I was, like tons of carbs, pizza, twice a week, and, Cold Stone every so often, and whatever it was that I was doing before. I wasn't going back to that, right? And I didn't go back to that. So I was like, what happened? I haven't been able to build my metabolism back up. So my metabolism when I had skin removal surgery was through the roof, right? I had a great metabolism because I was lifting weights. I was strength training, 4 times a week. And I was, doing all these things, and I was living a healthy lifestyle. I was eating low carb and, not much stress in my life, honestly. So with those things, I was doing amazing. But then the stress came, and also the skin removal caused a lot of loss of muscle mass, right? And inflammation and all these other things. And so the weight gain happened. So I started looking, and I saw other women who had skin removal at the same time as me. And many of them were having the same things. They had gained 30, 50, some of them even 100 pounds back. And then I looked at other people that I knew who'd had skin removal surgery at some point. I looked at them like what they looked at like a year later or something like that. A lot of them had gained their weight back. And I was like, what the heck? So if you're thinking about having skin removal surgery, think about how it's impacting your muscle mass in your body. And I would say the moment you can get back to strength training, get back to it, and get back to it heavy. During your recovery, eat protein like your life depends on it, right? Because you're gonna do whatever you can to sustain and retain your muscle mass, because I didn't, and I can tell, and I think the other women that I'm thinking of didn't either. And so we gained weight back, and I'm like, now I am prioritizing my strength training again, which is huge. I'm seeing changes in my body again. I'm finally losing weight again but it took a while. I've been prioritizing my strength training for like 2 months now. It's been longer than 2 months. Oh my gosh, it has been. So I've been prioritizing my strength training for like 4 months now, and I'm just seeing results now. That's how long it can take. So I'm just gonna give this tip, right? Because so many women, so many people after having skin removal gain some weight back, right? So my tips is prioritize your protein and get back to the strength training the moment you can, all right? And continue getting your rest, because those things help to maintain muscle mass, and that's what helps keep your metabolism going, and that's what helps you stay on this journey and not be where I am, right? Or where I was, which was 50 pounds heavier. Now I'm, 35 pounds heavier, but still, right? I'm still working toward, right? But it's like being heavier because of that year, right? And you don't want to be there, all right? So that's a year later after skin removal surgery. Those are some of the lessons I learned, some of the things that I've been doing. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Continue, stick with me on this journey. Let's do this together, because we get to live a healthier lifestyle, all right? If you haven't already, go to ilekafalette.com, subscribe to the newsletter. You can also get recipes, my recipe cards of every video, every recipe that I've made here on YouTube. I'm loading those into my recipe cards so that you have the exact directions to do it versus trying to write down while the video's going, right? And the links. I also give you the links to the actual videos. Also, I send out weekly tips, strategies, solutions on how to stay motivated and inspired and consistent and accountable on this journey, right, of a healthier you, healthier me, and a healthier world. And I also share a lot of expert advice and things like that from other experts that I bring in. So if that's what you want, go ahead and go to ilekafalette.com, sign up for the newsletter, and let's keep doing this together, all right? Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.
Don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to watch my mom's next video.